Hey everyone, I'm King of Valence. Thanks for watching this Spore Speedrun. This is Civilization stage completed on hard difficulty in 7 minutes and 14 seconds. This individual level speedrun uses these 4 custom vehicles, including a fast boat and tank and a powerful yet slow boat and tank, while all other vehicles are the default Maxis made. My starting creature will not have any consequence traits unlocked from previous stages. This was a super fast and lucky Civilization stage. I'm very happy with this run. In Civilization stage on hard, the game gives us one free move. We can either place buildings, buy a vehicle, destroy a tribe, or claim a spice geyser before the other cities start spawning. Since the game will wait for us, I like to take this opportunity to send a tank and claim the farthest spice geyser from my city. If I were to claim the spice geyser closest to my city first, I wouldn't likely beat the newly founded cities that spawn on the far side of the continent to these far spice geysers. Once the first spice geyser is claimed, I can immediately buy more tanks and get the other spice geysers closer to my city. This gives us the best chance of claiming as many spice geysers as possible, depriving all the other cities from getting any. This way, I have all the resources, and the other cities will have practically no ability to produce money, making capturing their cities much easier. Using the land borders, I can see which tribes will advance into Civilization stage, so I will prioritize the spice geysers closest to these new cities for my additional tanks, since these new cities would typically try to claim their nearest geysers. I got super lucky that this tank outran that epic's attention. If that tank got shot down by that epic, I would have to immediately reset. Since this is an individual level speedrun, I can be riskier with how I send my tanks. If this was a full game, I would have to be more careful, and I probably would have directed that tank much further around the epic to be safe. Losing tanks at the start here is really hard to overcome since it's really important we get all those spice geysers. Unfortunately, Lavender did beat us to the last spice geyser, so we're just gonna have to take it from them. Religious tanks can take over spice geysers pretty quickly, especially once we've changed them from fast tanks to powerful tanks. We will not be placing any buildings in our home city. We will be completely risking all of our tanks and money on the hopes that we capture our first city. We can have up to 6 vehicles to start. This unit cap increases when we get more cities and houses, but 6 tanks should be all that we need. There are 5 possible spawn locations the cities can choose from, but there will only be 4 of them used on this home continent. Sometimes on this planet, there will be 2 large rival cities with 1 small rival city, but this time there's only 1 large rival city and 2 small rival cities. And thankfully Crimson Nation, the 1 large rival city, was landlocked. This was super lucky. I would have expected this city to spawn on the west coast of the continent as a coastal city, but since they are landlocked, they can't get any spice geysers since we took them all. So this large city only has 1 factory, so that should make it super easy to take over. That is probably the fastest I've ever taken over a large city on hard, and it was thanks to it being landlocked and having no money. Once the city is captured, I'm going to switch back to fast tanks and sell off the 2 turrets since I won't be needing them, and that's 2,000 free spore bucks. I accidentally switched my tanks back to the slow powerful tanks, but it ends up not mattering too much. This accidental switch may have actually helped the run and possibly ended up making the run more successful in the end. Remember, there are no mistakes in speedrunning, only happy accidents. I send the tanks to the next city and start checking out the competition on the other continent. I'm paying close attention to what rival coastal cities are small or large cities. Orange Nation on the bottom right of the minimap on the other continent is a small city. Orange is the city we're going to capture in order to gain access to the other continent. Capturing a small city will be much faster than capturing a large city, so we can start placing tanks and taking over other cities on the second continent much quicker. So the plan is to rolling thunder our way through these 2 small cities on our home continent, and then boat our way over to Orange, and then take over the remaining small cities to get a total of 7 cities to buy the Fanatical Uprising ability to win the stage. We can buy Fanatical Uprising with only 6 cities, but it costs 12,000 spore bucks per city to take over the planet. And money is pretty tight, so spending 48,000 for 4 cities might be too expensive, so I'll try to afford the $36,000 win. 8 tanks may have been a bit overkill for Lavender, but it's better to play it safe. And these tanks should be able to take over Lavender pretty quickly. Once the tanks arrive, I will once again swap them out for the slow powerful tanks. Thankfully, there weren't any Lavender tanks guarding the city, so this should be a very straightforward capture. While watching our forces take over Lavender, I'm carefully watching Brown Nation take over Orange. This is fine, but it's important that Brown captures Orange quickly before I arrive to recapture the city. Since Brown is also religious, I do not want to be competing for the city. When 2 different religious nations attack a city, the capture progress competes in a tug of war. If Brown was military, their capture progress would have been independent of mine. But if I arrive with my boat army before Brown captures, I would either have to wait for them to capture or try to bring their Brown progress all the way down before I could start capturing for myself. So Brown capturing the city is the rate limiting factor. So the tank changing mistake didn't actually matter too much. It may have possibly saved me from arriving too early and needing to compete with Brown for this city. Thankfully, after Brown captured Orange, Brown immediately moves on to another city, leaving this city perfectly open for us to swoop in and take it from right under Brown's nose. Changing our boats to more powerful boats, just like the tanks, they'll be able to take over this city super quickly as well. Now that we have access to the other continent, we are going to deploy new tanks. Then making sure our tanks are the fast tanks, it's better to switch the vehicles, then send them to move. Switching moving vehicles can sometimes confuse their pathing and make them move slowly for a couple seconds. I see Brown has moved on to capture Yellow Nation, and I see just a couple pink tanks trying to take over Red Nation, so that's the city I'm going to try to take over first. I'm going to completely leave the other 3 large cities on this continent alone. Capturing them with vehicles will be very slow, and thankfully unlocking and using the Fanatical Uprising ability doesn't depend on the sizes of cities. I see Brown trying to take over Yellow, but I'm purposefully not putting the Yellow City fully into view. Notice how Brown is not getting a progress bar on top of the Yellow City. I'm using a glitch with religious capturing in this game, where the progress bar for religious capturing will not appear until the defending city is fully looked at. So I was purposefully not allowing Brown to take over Yellow. I'm going to send my tanks to destroy the Brown tanks first to eliminate the competition before we start to take over Yellow for ourselves. I put the Yellow City fully into view so Brown begins their capturing, but thankfully Brown doesn't make too much capture progress. My tanks make quick work of Brown's army, so now I won't have to compete with Brown. My tanks are still slow, so I'll switch to the fast tanks just for a second to get them closer to the Yellow City. Now I can move my tanks up and begin the capturing. Once my tanks are in position, I'll turn them back into powerful tanks. Now that I'm attacking, notice I have to push down the Brown progress before I can start my own green progress. We don't have enough money to buy the Fanatical Uprising right now, 48,000 Spore Bucks, but capturing the 7th city should give us enough time to collect enough money for the 36,000 Spore Bucks. Purple Nation is also trying to take over Yellow, but Purple is military, so their capture progress will be independent. I just have to make sure we capture Yellow before Purple does. If Purple captures the city first, all my capture progress is reset, and Purple would try to defend the city with all those tanks. Right now they're distracted by trying to take over the city. That one tank looks a bit confused. Has some good breakdancing moves though. While we wait for the final capture, I'm checking up on my other cities to make sure they aren't in danger. Pink still isn't sending a large enough army to take over the city, so I should be safe from them. Looks like the remaining Brown tanks are distracted by the Yellow tank instead of trying to capture the city, so we were able to capture Yellow pretty quickly. Now begins the final sell-off of all the other buildings and vehicles to hopefully get enough money to buy the 36,000 Fanatical Uprising before Purple or another nation takes back one of my cities. Money's going to be super close, so I need every last Spore Bug. The turns are kind of hard to see, but they're really important to sell, and thankfully the city card in the top right tells me how many turrets to look for. Use the arrows on the bottom to cycle between the cities to view all of them to sell all of the buildings. I'm at the final city where Purple is attacking, so I leave one building. With no buildings, the capture would occur really quickly, so this keeps Purple delayed just for a few more seconds. I'm going to sell off all the tanks and we're super close to 36,000. I'm quickly looking around for any last buildings to sell. I'm desperate for money, so I sell the very last building. It's almost destroyed anyway. After selling everything I own, we barely have enough money for the Fanatical Uprising. If we had captured Yellow any sooner, we might not have had enough time to buy the final takeover. The civilization stage doesn't end until we captured all the cities. If Purple captures this city after we bought Fanatical Uprising, but before the final city is taken over, Purple will keep this city and civilization stage would continue. But we got everything in time, and time stops when there are blue arrows on their progress bar, and that civilization stage complete on hard difficulty in 7 minutes and 14 seconds. Thank you so much for watching. I'm King of Valence, and I'll see you next time.